Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. If you have not already subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe to my channel. Today's talk is about how to sort SAS dataset without using proc sort or order by using a simple macro. And here the main goal is to show that how a simple macro can help us and how a simple macro is very effective in generating text, and that is the main goal, and how a macro can solve problems, especially one which needs the text generation. Now let us get into the example and let's also discuss little bit more about this topic. Here we have dataset have and it has one variable var. And if you can see, the data is not sorted. Now let's quickly run this. Here you can see that the data is not sorted. The goal is to sort this data set without using proc sort or order by. Now let us look into what could be our strategy to solve this problem. The strategy to solve this problem is, we can discuss that majorly in 4 steps. The first step is to create a new empty want dataset in which we want our data to be sorted. Let us say I have created a want dataset here, which is an empty dataset here. First, I need to pick the first minimum value from this have dataset. If you can see that it is 40. Now delete this 40 number from have dataset, and we are going to repeat step 2, 3 and 4 which I have mentioned here again till no records in the have dataset. Now let us look this for few more records. Next we are going to pick the next minimum, that is 60, and then we are going to delete this, and then we are going to pick the next minimum in have dataset, that is 70, and then we are going to delete this from have dataset, and then we are going to pick the next min, that is 90, and then we are going to delete this 90 from have dataset, and this we are going to do till we do not have any records in our have dataset. Now if you see here, by picking up one min after another, we have started sorting our dataset in ascending order. And now let's look into how we can do the whole thing with the help of high level code. Now let us look into high level code. First, we need to create the table want. This can be done using create table in Proc SQL. And we just need to mention one column name and its data type, which is pretty straightforward. Next is selecting the min var from have and then inserting into want table. And the code for this is also super simple. We are just doing insert into want, select min var from have. Then min value which we have entered into want table, now we are going to delete that from have table. And the code is again super simple. It just says delete from have where var in, select var from want. So this code works for one record. But now we want to make it work for more than one observation. Actually, we want it to work till we have records in have table. That is, we want to move one observation by one observation into want from have. As have has 8 observations, we want this process to run 8 times so that we are picking up one min after another and then we are inserting into want table. by which we are sorting the data as shown earlier. And here I wanted to tell one important thing. Here I want you to understand the importance of a macro. A macro or a macro facility is very great at generating text. And this is the whole point of making this video, is to tell how to generate required text with the help of macro. Now let us look into how we can do, or how we can repeat this 8 times with the help of macro. Again, the number 8 comes from the number of records 8 in the have data set. Now I can do this simply by putting the whole thing into, or wrapping the whole thing into a simple macro which starts with %macro and ends with %ment. All I have added is %do I equal to 1, %do 8, and the code is exactly same, and then we have end. What does this do? Whenever we put anything in %do loop for a macro, everything here is just plain text to the %do loop. What does this mean? This means whenever the do loop starts when I equal to 1, these lines are generated. And when these lines are generated, SAS will execute these statements or these lines. So I want you to understand one thing in here. So what this %do loop is doing is, it is just generating these lines, and then SAS is executing these lines. So in a way, you have to understand here, macro programming language just generates the text, but once the text is generated, SAS will use those generated text to execute whatever is there. So when I is 2, this runs once again, and this runs till 8 times, and then it ends. So here, with the help of this macro programming language, we will be able to sort our data set by inserting into want and by deleting from have continuously. And one important thing I want you to remember is, to do this, first we need to compile this macro, and then we need to execute this macro. I have discussed about compilation and execution of the macro in one of my other macro videos, and I will place the same in the description. If you want to look, you can have a look into that. Now I want you to focus on one another point in here. That is, here we have hard coded the value 8. As we know, the number of observations in this particular data set is 8. We were able to manually do this, and we were able to hard code it to 8. But this is not something which is advisable, because tomorrow if we are trying to do on some other data set, we do not want to hard code this value. Now let us see how we can do this. Now this can be again easily done with the help of SAS macro facility. Here what we can do is, we can do select count star into :cnt from have, and this will create CNT macro variable, and this will hold the value of the count from the have data set, which is 8. So we can also make macro variables from the data sets we have, and here by using so, we were able to pull the count value into a macro variable, and now we can reference this macro variable in here, and this once resolves, it resolves to 8, so it becomes %do I equal to %2 to 8. This is very useful, because tomorrow if we are going to try for another data set, then this again picks up the count and takes the value into a macro variable, and we are going to use this macro variable. So how to create macro variables like this and how to reference them, I have mentioned in one of my videos. I will post them also into the description below. Have a look into this. Now we have completed our macro. Now it's time to see how we can execute all of this and see our results. First, let us run our have data set which is not sorted. And I'm also proc printing the same. So here you can see that we have our have data set which is not sorted. Now let us first try to create our want data set and let me run this. And now we have created our want data set, and I also want to include one more options, that is symbol gen. Symbol gen gives us the value of macro variable in log, and mprint will give what SAS statements were generated while executing a macro. Now let us quickly run these options and also compile our macro. Here I have run our options and also I have compiled this macro. Now let us execute this macro and look into the log. And here, after looking into the log, we can see that the select count star into :cnt from have, the value of cnt was resolved to 8. And we can also see that one row was inserted into want data set and one row was deleted from have data set. And here you can see that happening close to 8 times. And I'm not going to discuss one by one because it does not make any sense to do that. And now quickly look into our results. Now let's try to run proc print data equal to want. Once we run the proc print data equal to want, here you can see that this data set has been sorted. And here, before concluding this topic, I would like to say a couple of points. First one, I might have used the word records, rows and observations interchangeably. It's okay, they are one and the same. The another important and the final point I want to mention is macro facility is really powerful. It can generate lot of lines or lot of text or lot of code, and then it can make your work very easy. And another thing we have to remember whenever we are doing macro is macro facility and SAS are two different things. Macro facility generates SAS statements or other statements, and SAS runs those statements which I have taken from the macro and does the job. So always macro runs first and then SAS comes into the picture later. That's all for this topic. If you have liked this topic, please give it a thumbs up, share and subscribe. Thank you.